Well, I was not expecting snow like this again this year. As you can see, still snowing. Said the snow is supposed to be coming down about an inch an hour. The snow started to melt on top, and all of a sudden all this water just went. Okay, well, as you can see, we're downstairs in the little camping cave right now, as I like to call it. The reason being is I've had a couple of questions, well, I've seen a couple of questions and comments from people recently kind of on the same sort of topic, and I figured the easiest way to do it, to answer those questions, would be to make a video about it. So the way I decided to do that is I'm going to talk about the 5 areas that I would invest in if I was looking to go winter camping. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so before we get started on the list of 5, there is one area that I would like to give a special mention to, because I know I'm going to get asked about it, and that is shelters, tents, things like that. As you can see, I've got tents and shelters coming out my freaking ears. These aren't even all of the ones I have, these are just some of them. And yeah, the reason they're not included in the list is because if you've watched my videos, even if you haven't watched my videos, I have camped in the winter under old canvas material type tents. I've camped in, 3-season tents. I've camped under just regular tarps. I've camped in natural shelters. And honestly, the first 2 years I was camping, I camped in a $35 tent from Walmart. So it's one of those things where I'm assuming if you are going to start winter camping that you've probably already done some camping already, and therefore you probably have a tent that you can use. And in my experience, the only thing that really changes with tents, the more money you spend, is the lighter they get. So what you want to camp under or what you want to camp in really is going to be up to you. And like I say, as long as it keeps you dry, keeps you out of the wind, keeps you out of the rain, out of the snow and all that, and you're comfortable setting it up, that's another thing. Don't go out the first time with like a tarp or something if you're not comfortable setting up tarp shelters in all sorts of different conditions. So that's why I haven't included tents on the list. That's why I'm not going to include tents and shelters on the list. Okay, area number 1 that I would invest in, and this might seem like a stupidly obvious one, but it's one that I feel like probably needs to be talked about. Okay, so first area to talk about, I said it was an obvious one, and that's your clothes. The clothes that you wear. The clothes that you wear are massively important, and one of the reasons I kind of want to talk about it, mention it, is I see a lot of YouTubers doing the same stuff as me, and they're wearing cotton hoodies like this when they're out in the woods and things, and I get it, it looks good and it's got your logo on it, but where I am, and I'm sure it's the saying in a lot of other places throughout the United States, Canada and the rest of the world, and the saying is cotton kills. And the reason they have the saying cotton kills is because it kills people. I'm not saying like your hoodie's gonna jump up and strangle you or anything like that, but the reason they have that saying is because cotton is notorious for, getting wet, and when it gets wet it doesn't retain its heat at all, and once that happens, a lot of people end up dying because they go into hypothermia and they get too cold and they freeze to death, basically. What happens is they'll go out in cotton hoodie, cotton t-shirt, cotton trousers, I don't know, and they'll basically go out hiking. They'll be getting hot, they'll be getting sweaty, their clothes will get damp, especially with the snow right now, your clothes always get snow on them, they'll start to get wet, and then all of a sudden you'll stop and you'll start to get cold really quickly. And that's the problem a lot of people have, and like I say, it's notoriously known in this area for people dying and in the woods because of the clothing they wear. So these are the clothes I wear every week. This is my base layer, my fleece shirt and my winter pants, and everything here is polyester. I mean, these are polyester with a little bit of elastane, spandex material in them to give them a good stretch, and this is 100% polyester. And yeah, that's what I would recommend. I mean, or wool. Wool's great as well. A lot of things now you can get merino wool, which is much better than old traditional wool. And that's the thing, we're living in like the best time possible for camping clothing, because you don't have to go out and buy like big bulky wool clothes if you don't want to. Like I say, now we have all this new fancy polyester stuff. It's lightweight, it's stretchy, it's moisture wicking, it's antimicrobial. Like, it's just got so many great things. And yeah, I mean, it's number one on my list because it's, you know, you're going to be stood wearing it if you're out in the cold. And like I say, there's nothing that's going to ruin your experience quicker than just getting wet and getting cold and then not being able to get warm again. And the good news is, most of this stuff these days, you know, a lot of that stuff that I was talking about, all those qualities, everything's come down in price so much now that you don't have to spend a fortune to get those things. Like, this outfit here cost me probably less than $100. So yeah, clothing, like I say, go for polyester, wool, merino wool, things like that. Merino wool tends to be a bit more expensive, but just avoid cotton, heavy cotton if you can. Dog's moving around upstairs. Okay, so that leads me into item number 2, and this is okay. So item number 2, and that's one of the reasons I've been wanting to make this video. So item number 2, and actually one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video, because I've been getting a couple of questions about this recently, and also seen a couple of comments about it. So item number 2 is footwear. Footwear. There's nothing that will ruin an outdoor experience quicker than having cold, wet feet. I know this from experience because I am a Yorkshireman, so that means I am inherently cheap. I know that seems ridiculous because I've got all these tents and stuff in front of me, but honestly, half of the ones on here I didn't even pay for, and the others I didn't pay full price for. So for a long time I always cheaped out on my footwear, I'll admit it, and I always had problems. You know, they would give me blisters, my feet would hurt, my feet would get wet, my feet would get cold. So 2 years ago now, maybe, I don't know, I invested in a proper decent pair of boots, which actually I have 3 pairs of boots now, and this was the first pair that I invested in. These are the Dana Mountain 600s, and I loved them. I absolutely loved them. Like I say, I'd always had problems with shoes, and I got these. First time I put them on, I went and hiked like 6 miles. No blisters, no problems, no sore feet, no nothing. But I got these in the fall, and then I took them out winter camping, and they were just kind of, you know, they're just shorter, right? They're shorter, so I was fine that snow would get inside of them. So that led me into these. And these are the boots I wear now. As you can see, they're a much taller 8-inch boot. And these are actually the Dana Vitals, and they are a hunting boot. And one of the reasons why I decided to go with a hunting boot and not a hiking boot is, number one, like I say, because they're taller, and when I'm out, this actually makes, see, I've got my hiking pants, and weirdly enough, I get comments telling me that my pants are too tight in my videos, and they probably are, but I'm European, so there you go. But they also make a nice snug seal around the top of my boot, which stops snow getting up inside them, which helps a lot. And like I say, because they're taller, typically it helps keep them out of the snow. The other reason I went with these, like I say, is because they're insulated. They have 100 grams of Thinsulate inside the lining, which helps massively. They're waterproof, they're lightweight, and I feel like a hunting boot is a great option if you're looking for winter boots. The reason being is, obviously, with these type of boots, especially if you look at elk hunting boots, you know, guys who wear those, typically they're out in the cold, they're out in the snow, they're hiking long distances in them, but then they're also still for a long time. They'll be, you know, glassing, they'll be looking for animals, and yeah, so far these have always worked better for me in the snow and the cold than any hiking boot. 2, footwear. Number 3, and another fairly obvious one, is a good winter sleeping bag. And this is the other reason why I wanted to make this video, is because obviously you've seen me use my hot tent now a couple times, and I've seen a lot of videos on hot tents, and they are really nice, don't get me wrong, they're great. But one thing, as you've probably seen in my videos, that you have to remember, even if you get a hot tent, even if you're thinking, well, I'm just going to spend the money on a hot tent, they still get cold. They still get cold inside. The fire goes out, you fall asleep, the fire goes out, and it starts to get cold inside that tent, and at that point you're going to wish you had a really great sleeping bag. And I mean, you know, even if it's really cold, depending on where you live, like it might be warmer in the tent than it is outside, but it doesn't mean it's going to be 65 degrees in the tent and you can use a summer sleeping bag. So I would always invest in a really good. So I would invest, before I invested in a hot tent, I would always invest in a really good winter sleeping bag because it's versatile, right? You can use it, you know, all the time. You can use, like I say, you can use it in a 3-season tent, you can use it under a tarp, you can use it in a hot tent if you want to, but at least it gives you options. So this is mine, as you've probably seen a bunch of times. I have 2 of these now. This is a hike and bike Snowmass 0 degrees Fahrenheit down sleeping bag. I've had this one for years, long before I started doing YouTube. I love it. It's been a lot of adventures with me. And if you want to, you can actually get 10% off their website if you follow the link in the description. So if there's anything you want, they make tents, sleeping pads, they do sleeping bags, obviously they do hammock compatible sleeping bags, and I love them. I think they're great, and they've always kept me warm and comfortable. So yeah, good winter sleeping bag. A good winter sleeping bag is number 3 on the list. Now, number 4. Number 4 is a tricky one, but you know, one of the things that's going to make you cold really quickly, as we all know, is insulating yourself from the ground, especially in the winter time when the ground's probably frozen solid and it's extra cold. You really need good insulation from the ground. Now, this is a new sleeping pad that I just bought, which I haven't tried out yet, but some of you might have seen this already. This is a NeoAir X-Therm from Thermarest. This has a much higher R value. I think the R value on it's like 6.9, which is designed for winter camping. So I'm looking forward to trying this out, but I haven't tried it out yet, but I've seen good things. But for years now, all I've used is a NeoAir X-Lite. This is the X-Lite. This is a 3-season sleeping pad. I believe the R value on it's more like 3.2. So it's more of a 3-season pad. And then in the winter, I've always paired it with Reflectix. Now I think Reflectix, this 2-foot roll, 2-foot wide roll, I think it's got an R value of in the 4 range. So with this, on top of this, it works really well and it keeps you warm. It does keep you much warmer. Even when you just put your hand on the Reflectix, you can feel how much heat comes back off it. I'm not gonna lie, this was 250 bucks, which I used some money that I got for my birthday to invest in it. And you know, a good 3-season sleeping pad like this one's $150. So it took me a long time to want to pony up for 2 sleeping pads. You know what I mean? So Reflectix, I don't know, the rolls aren't that expensive. I want to say they're like less than 20 bucks. Yeah, it's a great way to spend a little money and make a 3-season sleeping pad go much further. The reason I invested in this is just because now I carry so much gear. Well, not gear, but I have a lot of camera equipment in my bag now. So I'm finding I need more space in my backpack. So bringing this along with this it's difficult for me, but if you don't have that problem, then it's a great, like I say, it's a great cheap option to make your sleeping pads go much further and much later into the season. But yeah, a good sleeping pad, good ground insulation is number 4 on the list. Absolutely, absolutely key. Okay, so item number 5. There's a predator. There's the dog upstairs. But item number 5, lighting. Lighting. I know this. The reason I could have done tents at number 5 because I was struggling for a 5, to be honest. But then at the same time, we talked about tents in the beginning, and this is honestly something that doesn't get talked about a lot, but I feel is super important, and it's something that I always bring with me. I mean, headlamp, yes, you're gonna have a headlamp all throughout the year. Any type of trip you take, you're gonna have some type of headlamp, flashlight, whatever. But this is my little black diamond Moji lantern. It costs 20 bucks. That's all it is. It's $20, 100 lumens, and it just makes life so much more comfortable in the winter, because you have to remember, in the winter, it gets dark at like 4 o'clock. Where I am anyway, it can be pitch black by 4 o'clock, and you spend a lot of time in the dark, you know? So having this, just, you know, you can hang it from your ridge line for your tarp, or you can hang it inside your tent or whatever, and it just makes life so much easier. Like, all your stuff then is illuminated. A lot of times, you know, I don't have to have this wrapped around my head or wrapped around my neck, you know what I mean? When I'm trying to sleep, I can have it up there, and if I reach up, just turn it on, and it's just nice. It's nice to be able to sit, you know, in those hours before you want to go to sleep when it's dark, and it's nice to not be just sat there in the pitch black the whole time, I find anyway. to me, it comes on every trip that I do in the winter time, and most trips in the summer, because it takes up no space and it's fairly light. So yeah, that's item number 5. So those are the 5 areas that I think you should invest in if you want to go winter camping, personally. And I'd be interested to see what you guys think. Drop me a comment down below. Let me know. I mean, obviously the other thing that I would put on the list, actually I'd put number 1, which isn't really a big investment, but is a way to light a fire. You know, having more than one way to light a fire. I talked about that in my winter camping tips for beginner video. So having 2 ways to light a fire, I always have 2 ways. I always have a fire steel and a lighter. And normally I have more than 1 lighter. So, but yeah, drop me a comment. Let me know if there's anything else that you think I should include on the list. Let me know if there's any other questions you have. Let me know if you like this style of video. If you want me to do more winter tips and tricks videos. If you want me to do more weekly videos talking about gear that I'll be bringing and gear that I've brought on trips and things like that. And yeah, give it a like. Subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, I'll see you on the next one. Take it easy.